Behind the global fame, record-breaking achievements, and millions of devoted fans lies another side of Jungkook that many people have never truly explored. While his journey as BTS's youngest member has been documented for years, several remarkable facts remain surprisingly overlooked or misunderstood. Some are hidden within old interviews, official records, and moments that passed almost unnoticed, while others continue to spark discussion among longtime fans and industry observers alike. As the pieces come together, they reveal a story far more complex than the image seen on stage. These are 7 facts about Jungkook that most fans still don't know, presented by Kpop Fact Today. Number 7. Jungkook almost didn't join BTS. Long before sold-out stadiums, billion-stream milestones, and worldwide recognition became inseparable from the name BTS, the story began in a far quieter setting. In the early 2010s, South Korea's entertainment industry was already dominated by powerful agencies with established reputations, extensive trainee systems, and proven pathways to stardom. Countless young hopefuls entered auditions each year, knowing that only a tiny fraction would ever reach the stage. Among those teenagers was Jungkook, a talented young performer from Busan whose remarkable singing ability immediately caught the attention of multiple entertainment companies. Official accounts confirm that after participating in a national audition program, Jungkook received casting offers from several major agencies. At that moment, the future seemed wide open. On paper, choosing one of the industry's largest companies appeared to be the safest decision. Bigger budgets, greater resources, and stronger market influence would naturally seem like the logical path for any aspiring artist. Yet, history rarely follows the path that appears most predictable. Official interviews and statements over the years indicate that Jungkook ultimately decided to join Big Hit Entertainment, a relatively small company compared to the industry's dominant giants at the time. From a business perspective, many observers have continued to revisit this decision with fascination. Big Hit did not possess the financial strength or institutional prestige enjoyed by its competitors. Industry analysts have often described the company's situation during those years as uncertain, with limited resources and a relatively modest position within the Korean entertainment landscape. Looking back with the benefit of hindsight, it is tempting to assume that success was inevitable. However, contemporary records suggest the opposite. Nothing about Big Hit's future guaranteed that it would become one of the most influential entertainment companies in the world. The decision carried significant uncertainty, making Jungkook's choice appear even more remarkable in retrospect. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of this story lies in the reason behind his decision. Rather than choosing an agency solely because of its reputation or financial stability, Jungkook has explained that he was deeply impressed after seeing RM perform. Various official interviews have consistently pointed to RM's rap skills, confidence, and leadership as the defining factor that influenced Jungkook's choice. Instead of evaluating only corporate prestige, he appeared to focus on artistic potential and personal inspiration. This detail has fueled years of discussion among fans and commentators. Some interpret the decision as evidence of extraordinary intuition, while others see it as an example of how meaningful personal influence can outweigh conventional career logic. Either way, the explanation stands out because it challenges the common assumption that aspiring idols always prioritize the largest available company. Music industry observers frequently note that talent recruitment is often shaped by measurable factors such as investment, infrastructure, promotional capability, and historical success. Yet Jungkook's story introduces another variable that cannot easily be quantified. Human relationships, trust, and creative chemistry sometimes become decisive factors in life-changing decisions. Although official records clearly identify RM as a major influence, countless discussions within the fan community have expanded this narrative into something almost symbolic. Some describe that meeting as a pivotal crossroads where 2 individual journeys converged before eventually reshaping the global music industry. While such interpretations remain speculative rather than factual, they illustrate how deeply this single decision has become embedded in BTS's larger mythology. Looking back, the implications are difficult to ignore. Had Jungkook accepted an offer from another company, BTS as the world knows it today might have looked entirely different, or perhaps might never have existed in its familiar form. The group's distinctive vocal balance, performance style, and creative evolution were all shaped, at least in part, by the combination of 7 unique individuals whose paths unexpectedly intersected. Historians of popular culture often emphasize that major cultural movements are rarely the product of one dramatic event. Instead, they emerge through countless seemingly ordinary decisions made long before the public notices their significance. Jungkook's agency selection fits remarkably well into this pattern. At the time, it appeared to be a personal career choice made by an ambitious teenager. Years later, many regard it as one of the defining moments in modern K-pop history. Another fascinating element involves timing. During the recruitment process, neither Jungkook nor anyone else could have accurately predicted the unprecedented global expansion of Korean popular music. Streaming platforms had not yet transformed international music consumption to the extent they would in later years. Social media was evolving rapidly, but the worldwide influence of K-pop remained far from today's reality. In other words, Jungkook's choice cannot realistically be explained through knowledge of future success, because that future simply did not yet exist. This observation has led many analysts to argue that the choice reflected genuine belief rather than calculated prediction. Official documentation supports the basic facts surrounding the recruitment, while broader interpretations about destiny remain matters of perspective rather than evidence. The story also highlights an important psychological dimension. Young performers often face enormous pressure when making career decisions that could shape the rest of their lives. Family expectations, financial uncertainty, educational sacrifices, and fierce industry competition all contribute to an environment where certainty is almost impossible to achieve. Jungkook's experience reflects this reality. Although official records reveal the outcome, many private conversations and emotions from that period naturally remain unknown to the public. This absence of complete information has encouraged ongoing speculation among fans, seeking to reconstruct the emotional weight behind the decision. However, responsible analysis must distinguish documented facts from imaginative interpretation. The official record confirms multiple offers and his admiration for RM. Everything beyond those established points should be viewed as informed speculation rather than historical certainty. Years after BTS rose to international prominence, this early chapter gained renewed attention. Interviews were revisited, documentaries referenced the recruitment period, and fans began connecting individual memories into a broader narrative about fate, timing, and opportunity. The more successful BTS became, the more extraordinary Jungkook's original decision appeared. Ironically, what once seemed like an uncertain gamble gradually transformed into one of the most celebrated examples of instinct prevailing over conventional wisdom. Yet that transformation occurred only because history unfolded in a very specific way. Had circumstances developed differently, the same decision might have been remembered very differently. Ultimately, the enduring mystery is not whether Jungkook received multiple offers. That fact has been consistently acknowledged through official sources. The deeper question is far more compelling. Why do certain moments that appear ordinary in real time later reveal themselves as turning points capable of changing an entire industry's future? Was this simply an exceptionally fortunate decision guided by artistic admiration, or was it the first invisible step towards a phenomenon that no one could possibly have predicted? As history continues to be examined from new perspectives, perhaps the greatest mystery is not why Jungkook chose Big Hit, but how differently the global music landscape might look today if he had chosen another door instead.
Number 6. He's largely self-taught. Story was quietly unfolding behind the scenes, a story that received far less attention than chart records or award ceremonies. Hidden inside rehearsal rooms, hotel accommodations during overseas tours, recording studios after midnight, and countless hours spent alone with a computer screen or a camera lens, Jungkook was gradually building a collection of skills that extended far beyond singing and dancing. Official interviews, documentaries, and behind the scenes content have repeatedly shown glimpses of this process, revealing an individual driven by relentless curiosity rather than obligation. While many idols receive structured instruction from professional coaches throughout their career, numerous aspects of Jungkook's development appear to have followed a different path. Various official accounts indicate that he often relied on personal observation, repeated experimentation, and independent practice to master new abilities. This pattern has led many fans and industry observers to describe him as largely self-taught, a description that continues to spark fascination because it challenges the conventional image of how K-pop stars acquire their remarkable versatility. Within South Korea's entertainment industry, trainees are generally introduced to highly organized systems designed to refine specific talents. Professional vocal instructors, dance choreographers, language teachers, fitness coaches, and media specialists often contribute to an idol's development long before debut. Such systems are widely recognized as one of the defining characteristics of modern K-pop. Against this backdrop, Jungkook's approach appears particularly intriguing. Rather than limiting himself to the disciplines assigned through formal training, he consistently explored entirely new creative fields on his own initiative. Official behind-the-scenes footage and interviews have shown him experimenting with photography, filming cinematic travel videos, editing footage, painting, drawing, boxing, fitness routines, and music production. While experts naturally acknowledge that learning resources and occasional professional guidance were available throughout his career, many of these interests developed primarily through independent exploration rather than structured classroom education. This distinction has become an important part of the narrative surrounding his reputation as the Golden Maknae. Perhaps one of the clearest examples of this independent mindset can be found in Jungkook's growing passion for videography and editing. Over the years, BTS fans became familiar with a series of travel films known for their polished cinematography, smooth transitions, carefully selected music, and surprisingly sophisticated visual storytelling. Rather than feeling like simple vacation recordings, these projects often resembled professionally edited documentaries. Official content released by BTS demonstrated that Jungkook personally filmed significant portions of these videos and took an active role in editing them. Industry commentators noted the cinematic composition, careful pacing, and creative use of lighting, leading many viewers to assume that extensive professional instruction must have been involved. However, Jungkook himself has repeatedly suggested that much of his knowledge came from watching tutorials, observing experienced creators, experimenting with editing software, and improving through repeated trial and error. Such statements reinforced the perception that curiosity itself had become one of his greatest teachers. Photography offers another fascinating example. Official photos and videos have occasionally shown Jungkook carrying professional-grade cameras while traveling between international schedules. Fans noticed his growing understanding of composition, depth of field, lighting conditions, and visual balance. Photography communities even analyzed some of the images he shared publicly, praising their artistic perspective, despite photography not being his primary profession. Although it would be inaccurate to claim that he never received advice from experienced photographers, available records suggest that personal experimentation played a central role in developing this hobby. Various observers have pointed out that his willingness to continuously test different techniques reflects a mindset more commonly associated with lifelong learners than with celebrities whose schedules leave very little room for personal study. His interest in visual art follows a similar pattern. Throughout the years, official content has occasionally revealed sketches, paintings, and illustrations created during moments away from the stage. Rather than presenting himself as a trained artist, Jungkook has often approached drawing as a form of creative expression and relaxation. Art specialists who commented informally on these works generally emphasized that technical perfection was less significant than the evident dedication to continuous improvement. The progression visible across different periods suggested someone who was willing to make mistakes repeatedly while gradually refining technique through practice instead of relying solely on formal instruction. This behavior aligns closely with educational theories emphasizing deliberate practice, where consistent repetition and reflection gradually produce measurable improvement over time. Another dimension frequently discussed involves physical training. Boxing eventually became one of Jungkook's most recognized hobbies, attracting attention whenever training clips surfaced through official documentaries or authorized behind-the-scenes material. While boxing naturally requires supervision for safety reasons, various reports indicate that Jungkook devoted considerable personal time to refining techniques outside standard performance rehearsals. Fitness experts have occasionally noted improvements in his coordination, endurance, balance, and overall athletic conditioning throughout different stages of BTS's career. Similar observations have been made regarding his interest in general exercise routines, suggesting that disciplined self-management became an essential component of maintaining performance quality during physically demanding world tours. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Jungkook's self-directed learning lies not in any single skill, but in the consistency of the underlying pattern. Whether the subject involved music software, camera equipment, visual editing, athletic performance, or artistic experimentation, official records repeatedly revealed the same sequence. Curiosity emerged first, followed by observation, countless hours of independent practice, gradual improvement, and eventually public recognition. Educational psychologists often argue that intrinsic motivation, the desire to learn because of genuine personal interest rather than external rewards, is among the strongest predictors of long-term skill development. While no outsider can fully evaluate Jungkook's internal motivations, his documented behavior appears consistent with this principle. He rarely presented new abilities as achievements deserving celebration. Instead, they often appeared naturally during casual broadcasts, documentaries, or behind-the-scenes footage, almost as though the learning process itself mattered more than public recognition. Naturally, various misconceptions have also emerged over the years. Some online discussions exaggerate the idea of being self-taught by implying that Jungkook learned absolutely everything without any guidance whatsoever. Official records do not support such an absolute conclusion. As a professional artist working within one of the world's most successful music groups, he undoubtedly benefited from collaboration with experienced producers, directors, choreographers, coaches, and creative professionals. The more accurate interpretation is that many of his additional talents developed through extraordinary personal initiative beyond the formal requirements of his career. This distinction is important because it separates documented evidence from popular myth. The available facts demonstrate remarkable independence in learning, but they do not erase the collaborative environment that also contributed to his growth. Industry analysts have occasionally suggested that this relentless habit of independent learning may explain why Jungkook continues to adapt successfully within an entertainment landscape that changes at extraordinary speed. Technologies evolve, audience expectations shift, creative trends disappear almost overnight, and new platforms constantly redefine how artists communicate with global audiences. Individuals who possess the ability to teach themselves new skills often adapt more efficiently than those who rely exclusively on structured instruction. Although such assessments remain analytical interpretations rather than measurable facts, they help explain why Jungkook's reputation extends beyond vocal performance into broader discussions about creativity, discipline, and professional longevity. In hindsight, the most intriguing question may not concern which skill Jungkook mastered next, but rather what continually drives that process of discovery. Official documentation confirms many of the abilities he has demonstrated over the years, yet the deeper motivation behind his relentless curiosity remains known only to him. Is this constant pursuit of new knowledge simply the personality of an artist unwilling to remain still, or does it reveal an even more profound philosophy that has quietly shaped every stage of his career? As each newly acquired skill becomes visible to the public, one mystery continues to linger in the background. How many talents remain hidden, still waiting for the right moment?
Number 5. The Golden Maknae title isn't just about his singing.
Long before the nickname became a permanent part of Jungkook's public identity, it emerged quietly within the walls of BTS's practice rooms, where exhausting rehearsals often stretched late into the night, and every member was expected to push beyond ordinary limits. At that stage, there were no guarantees of international fame, sold-out stadiums, or historic achievements waiting beyond the horizon. The group was simply striving to survive in one of the most competitive entertainment industries in the world. During those early years, observers began noticing an unusual pattern surrounding the youngest member. Whether the task involved singing difficult vocal passages, mastering complex choreography, participating in athletic competitions, or adapting to entirely new creative challenges, Jungkook consistently demonstrated an ability to improve at an exceptional pace. Official interviews, behind-the-scenes documentaries, and comments from fellow BTS members gradually formed the foundation of what would eventually become one of the most recognizable titles in modern K-pop, the Golden Maknae. Yet, despite its widespread popularity, many casual fans continue to assume the nickname exists solely because of his vocal ability. The official record paints a far more comprehensive picture. Within Korean culture, the word maknae traditionally refers to the youngest member of a family or group. In entertainment, the role often carries certain expectations, including youthful energy, adaptability, and a willingness to learn from older members. However, attaching the word golden fundamentally changes its meaning. Rather than simply identifying Jungkook as the youngest member, the nickname suggests an individual capable of excelling across multiple disciplines simultaneously. Over the years, official BTS content has repeatedly demonstrated that the title was never intended to recognize only one particular talent. Instead, it reflected an unusually broad range of abilities that continued expanding as his career progressed. Various interviews with BTS members have reinforced this interpretation, frequently describing Jungkook as someone who could quickly absorb new information and transform practice into visible improvement with remarkable consistency. Perhaps the clearest evidence lies in his performance versatility. Official concert footage and documented performances show Jungkook moving effortlessly between demanding vocal sections and physically intense choreography without obvious declines in stability. Vocal coaches analyzing BTS performances have often noted the technical difficulty involved in maintaining pitch accuracy while executing exhausting dance routines. Simultaneously, choreographers have praised his precision, body control, and adaptability across different performance styles. While countless idols possess either exceptional vocals or extraordinary dance ability, combining both at consistently high levels remains considerably less common. This dual capability became one of the earliest reasons industry observers began paying closer attention to Jungkook's overall skill set, rather than evaluating him through a single category. The nickname gained even greater significance as audiences discovered talents extending well beyond live performance. Official documentaries, variety programs, and behind-the-scenes videos gradually revealed Jungkook's interests in photography, cinematography, video editing, painting, drawing, physical fitness, boxing, and music production. None of these fields directly contributed to his official responsibilities as BTS's main vocalist, yet he continued developing them with noticeable dedication. Fans observing this pattern began recognizing that the Golden Maknae image represented versatility rather than perfection. It was not the absence of limitations that impressed people most, rather it was the consistent willingness to approach unfamiliar disciplines with patience, curiosity, and determination. Educational experts often describe this mindset as a growth-oriented approach, where improvement results from continuous learning rather than fixed natural ability. Although such psychological interpretations remain analytical rather than factual, Jungkook's documented behavior frequently aligns with this perspective. Athletic performance offers another compelling example. Official BTS variety content has repeatedly showcased Jungkook participating in sports competitions involving sprinting, wrestling-inspired games, archery, bowling, and numerous physical challenges. Across different broadcasts, viewers noticed that he frequently adapted quickly regardless of the specific activity. Sports analysts commenting on these appearances emphasized his balance, coordination, reaction speed, and body awareness, rather than suggesting professional-level athletic specialization. Nevertheless, these consistent displays contributed significantly to public perception. Over time, the audience began expecting Jungkook to perform well whenever a completely new challenge appeared on screen. Such expectations reveal an important psychological effect associated with reputation. Once individuals become known for broad competence, every subsequent success further reinforces the existing narrative, creating a cycle where versatility itself becomes part of their public identity. Interestingly, the title has also generated misconceptions. Various online discussions occasionally portray the nickname as implying flawless mastery across every imaginable field. Official evidence does not support such an exaggerated conclusion. Jungkook himself has openly acknowledged making mistakes, struggling with unfamiliar techniques, and requiring extensive practice before achieving satisfying results. Behind-the-scenes footage frequently captures repeated attempts, corrections from instructors, and moments of visible frustration during rehearsals or creative projects. These documented experiences remind audiences that the Golden Maknae label should not be interpreted as evidence of effortless perfection. Instead, it appears to recognize an unusual combination of adaptability, persistence, and consistent improvement across diverse disciplines. This distinction separates observable reality from the myths that naturally emerge around globally recognized celebrities. Industry experts have occasionally argued that versatility has become increasingly valuable within the modern entertainment landscape. Contemporary artists are often expected to function as performers, content creators, communicators, visual storytellers, and digital personalities. Success now depends on much more than vocal ability alone. From this perspective, Jungkook's broad range of interests may have provided practical advantages extending beyond artistic expression. His familiarity with video production, photography, editing, and music creation allowed him to contribute creatively in ways that exceeded traditional idol responsibilities. While official records confirm these activities, the extent to which they influenced BTS's broader creative evolution remains a matter of interpretation rather than measurable fact. Another fascinating dimension involves the influence of fellow BTS members. Throughout numerous official interviews, the older members have occasionally shared stories describing Jungkook's rapid improvement after observing others. Rather than relying exclusively on formal instruction, he frequently appeared to learn by watching experienced teammates, carefully analyzing techniques, and practicing independently until achieving similar results. This habit reinforces the broader narrative discussed by many educational researchers, that observation combined with deliberate repetition can become an extraordinarily powerful learning strategy. Although such theories cannot fully explain individual success, Jungkook's documented behavior repeatedly illustrates how disciplined observation may accelerate personal development over extended periods. Public perception has also evolved dramatically over time. During BTS's early years, the nickname primarily circulated among dedicated fans familiar with the group's internal dynamics. As BTS achieved unprecedented international recognition, however, Golden Maknae became one of the most widely recognized titles associated with any K-pop artist. Media outlets, interviewers, and commentators increasingly adopted the phrase, often introducing Jungkook through the nickname itself rather than explaining its origins. Ironically, this growing popularity may have also simplified its meaning. New audiences sometimes interpreted it merely as praise for outstanding singing, overlooking the much broader collection of documented abilities that originally inspired the title. As a result, one of Jungkook's most famous nicknames gradually became one of the most frequently misunderstood. Looking back through official records, interviews, documentaries, and years of publicly available content, the evidence consistently points towards the same conclusion. The title Golden Mach-E was never designed to celebrate only one extraordinary voice. It emerged from repeated observations of an individual who consistently expanded his capabilities far beyond what anyone initially expected. Singing became the foundation, but dancing, athleticism, artistic creativity, technical production, visual storytelling, and relentless self-improvement transformed the nickname into something much larger than a simple compliment. Yet perhaps the greatest mystery remains unanswered. Did Jungkook become the Golden Mach-E because he possessed extraordinary natural talent from the beginning, or did years of relentless curiosity and discipline slowly create the legend that millions now take for granted? As more chapters of his career continue to unfold, that question remains as compelling as ever. Number 4. He once admitted he was extremely nervous during BTS's debut. Long before the thunderous applause of sold-out stadiums echoed across continents, before millions of synchronized light sticks transformed concert arenas into oceans of purple, and long before Jungkook's name became synonymous with one of the most recognizable voices in global music, there existed a far quieter and more uncertain moment hidden within the earliest chapter of BTS's history. The year was 2013, and inside the rehearsal studios of a relatively small entertainment company, 7 young trainees were preparing for a debut that carried enormous expectations, but offered very few guarantees. Official records from that period reveal a reality far removed from the polished image later associated with BTS. Financial resources were limited, public recognition was virtually non-existent, and every performance represented another attempt to convince an unforgiving industry that the group deserved to survive. Among those 7 members stood Jungkook, the youngest of them all. Although today's audiences often remember him as an exceptionally confident performer, capable of commanding massive stages with remarkable composure, official interviews conducted years later reveal a strikingly different reality. Jungkook openly admitted that during BTS's debut period, he experienced overwhelming nervousness, frequently questioning whether he could meet expectations and fulfill the responsibilities placed upon him. This revelation has fascinated both fans and industry observers because it directly contrasts with the confident image that later defined much of his career. Within the structure of K-pop groups, the role of the youngest member often carries unique psychological challenges. While older members are generally expected to provide guidance and stability, the maknae frequently enters the industry with less life experience and fewer opportunities to develop emotional resilience under professional pressure. Official documentaries and interviews featuring BTS have repeatedly illustrated the close relationship between Jungkook and the older members, many of whom naturally assumed mentoring roles during the group's earliest years. Various members have shared stories about encouraging him, offering advice, and helping him adjust to the demanding routines of idol life. These accounts suggest that Jungkook's early anxiety did not emerge from a lack of talent, but rather from the enormous weight of expectations surrounding someone who entered the industry at such a young age. Performance psychologists often note that highly talented individuals can experience particularly intense anxiety because they become acutely aware of the standards they are expected to maintain. Although such academic observations cannot be directly applied to Jungkook without personal evaluation, they provide useful context for understanding why exceptional ability does not necessarily eliminate fear. Official interviews conducted over several years consistently support the idea that Jungkook initially struggled with confidence, despite demonstrating extraordinary potential. He has spoken about feeling uncertain on stage, worrying about making mistakes, and wondering whether his performances were good enough. These admissions stand in sharp contrast to the image many newer fans first encounter, a performer whose stage presence appears effortless and instinctive. This difference highlights an important reality often overlooked within entertainment industries. public confidence and private anxiety frequently coexist. Experienced performers may appear completely composed before thousands of spectators, while simultaneously managing significant internal pressure. In Jungkook's case, official statements indicate that his early nervousness became an obstacle he gradually learned to overcome rather than something that disappeared overnight. The debut era itself intensified these emotional pressures. BTS entered an entertainment market already crowded with established artists representing significantly larger agencies. Contemporary reports and historical analyses describe an environment where competition among rookie groups was exceptionally fierce. Success depended not only on talent, but also on visibility, marketing opportunities, and public attention, resources that were unevenly distributed throughout the industry. Big Hit Entertainment was still building its reputation, meaning that every stage performance carried unusual importance. For Jungkook, this environment likely amplified the responsibility he already felt as the group's main vocalist. Although official records do not document every private emotion experienced during rehearsals or performances, interviews conducted later strongly suggest that the combination of youth, responsibility, and uncertainty contributed substantially to his anxiety. Another fascinating aspect concerns the difference between rehearsal environments and live performances. Behind-the-scenes documentaries frequently reveal countless hours of preparation before major appearances. Choreography is repeated until movements become automatic. Vocal arrangements are refined through constant repetition, and technical details receive meticulous attention from performers and production staff alike. Yet, psychologists specializing in performance consistently argue that preparation alone cannot entirely eliminate stage fright. The transition from rehearsal room to live audience fundamentally changes the emotional landscape. Bright stage lighting, television cameras, unpredictable audience reactions, and awareness of public evaluation introduce variables impossible to replicate during practice. Jungkook's own reflections align with this understanding, suggesting that despite extensive preparation, standing before a live audience during BTS's earliest performances remained emotionally overwhelming. Fans have often revisited archived performances from BTS's debut period in search of subtle visible signs supporting Jungkook's later admissions. Some point to subtle facial expressions, brief moments of hesitation, or small differences in body language when compared with his current performances. However, such interpretations should be approached cautiously. Human memory is influenced by hindsight, and knowing Jungkook's later comments may encourage viewers to perceive anxiety more clearly than contemporary audiences originally did. Official footage undeniably documents the performances themselves, but assigning precise emotional states to every gesture remains speculative. What is firmly established is Jungkook's own acknowledgement that he experienced significant nervousness during those early years, providing the most reliable evidence available regarding his internal experience. Industry observers frequently emphasize that overcoming early anxiety may have contributed significantly to his later development as a performer. Rather than avoiding situations that triggered fear, official records show him repeatedly returning to increasingly demanding stages. Domestic concerts evolved into international tours. Television broadcasts expanded into global award ceremonies. Smaller venues eventually gave way to stadiums filled with tens of thousands of spectators. Throughout this progression, audiences witnessed an equally remarkable transformation in his stage presence. Confidence gradually replaced visible hesitation, while technical consistency continued improving alongside artistic maturity. Performance experts often argue that repeated exposure to challenging situations represents one of the most effective methods for reducing performance-related anxiety over time. Although individual experiences naturally differ, Jungkook's documented career progression appears consistent with this broader psychological principle. Equally significant is the role played by the other BTS members throughout this journey. Numerous official interviews suggest that the group's internal support system became one of its defining strengths. RM's leadership, Jin's encouragement, Suga's practical advice, J-Hope's positive energy, Jimin's emotional understanding, and V's companionship collectively created an environment where individual insecurities could gradually be addressed rather than hidden. While every member undoubtedly faced personal challenges, Jungkook's position as the youngest often placed him in a unique relationship with the group as a whole. Many longtime fans believe this dynamic contributed substantially to his growing confidence, although the precise extent of its influence remains impossible to measure objectively. Today, the contrast between Jungkook's debut-era admissions and his current performances has become one of the most compelling examples of personal growth within modern K-pop. Audiences now see an artist capable of commanding some of the world's largest stages with remarkable composure, often delivering live vocals while executing physically demanding choreography before millions of viewers. The transformation appears almost dramatic when compared with his own descriptions of feeling intensely nervous during BTS's earliest days. Yet perhaps this evolution is precisely what makes the story so powerful. Confidence was not simply an innate character revealed from the beginning. According to Jungkook's own words, it was built gradually through experience, persistence, and countless performances carried out despite lingering fear. Looking back at official interviews, archived performances, and years of documented growth, one question continues to linger beneath the surface. If Jungkook had allowed those early fears to define him instead of confronting them repeatedly, would the world have witnessed the same performer who now stands confidently before millions? Or does every legendary career begin not with absolute certainty, but with a quiet battle against doubts that very few people ever see? As the earliest
Number 3. He's passionate about music production. Long before his name began appearing prominently on global streaming charts as a solo artist, another journey was quietly unfolding behind the closed doors of recording studios, where flashing stage lights were replaced by computer monitors, mixing consoles, and countless hours of careful experimentation. While millions of listeners recognized Jungkook primarily as BTS's main vocalist, a less visible aspect of his artistic identity was steadily developing beyond the public spotlight. Official documentaries, studio footage, interviews, and album credits have gradually revealed that his connection to music extends far beyond performing songs written by others. Hidden behind finished tracks heard by audiences worldwide lies a creative process involving songwriting, arranging, recording, vocal directing, and production discussions that often remain invisible once the final music reaches streaming platforms. For casual listeners, Jungkook's powerful voice became the defining feature of his career. However, official records increasingly suggest that his ambitions have always reached much deeper than standing in front of a microphone. Over the years, he has consistently expressed a genuine fascination with how music is built, from its earliest ideas into complete productions, revealing an artist determined not only to perform music, but also to understand every layer of its creation. Within the modern music industry, the distinction between performer and producer is more significant than many audiences realize. A singer delivers emotion through interpretation, while a producer shapes the emotional architecture of an entire song. Decisions regarding instrumental arrangement, recording techniques, vocal layering, pacing, atmosphere, and overall sonic identity can dramatically influence how listeners experience a piece of music. Industry professionals often describe production as the invisible language behind every successful recording. Official album credits and statements released throughout BTS's career indicate that Jungkook gradually expanded his involvement in these creative processes. Rather than remaining exclusively focused on vocal performance, he increasingly participated in songwriting sessions, recording discussions, and creative decision-making. Although each project naturally involved collaboration with experienced producers, composers, and engineers, the available evidence demonstrates that Jungkook's role has steadily evolved beyond that of a traditional performer.
One of the earliest indications of this growing interest emerged through behind-the-scenes content showing Jungkook spending extended periods inside recording studios even after his scheduled vocal sessions had ended. Rather than leaving once his parts were completed, official documentaries occasionally captured him observing production work, discussing arrangements, listening carefully to playback recordings, and paying close attention to technical details that many performers might simply entrust to engineers. Music educators often emphasize that observation can become one of the most valuable forms of learning within professional environments. Watching experienced producers refine recordings provides insights rarely available through textbooks or formal instruction alone. Although it would be inaccurate to conclude that Jungkook acquired all of his production knowledge exclusively through observation, official footage strongly suggests that curiosity consistently motivated him to remain involved throughout the broader creative process. As BTS's discography expanded, Jungkook's songwriting contributions became increasingly visible through official album documentation. Various releases credited him for participating in lyric writing, melody development, and creative composition. These credits represent more than simple acknowledgments. Within the music industry, songwriting responsibilities often indicate meaningful involvement in shaping a song's artistic direction. Official records confirm his participation in several creative projects across different stages of BTS's career, illustrating a gradual progression rather than a sudden transformation. Industry analysts have occasionally noted that artists who contribute to songwriting often develop a deeper emotional connection to their performances because they understand not only the lyrics but also the intentions behind each musical decision. While such observations remain general rather than specific to Jungkook alone, they provide useful context for understanding why his interest in production continued expanding over time. Another fascinating dimension involves technology itself. Music production has undergone extraordinary changes over the past 2 decades. Modern producers frequently work with sophisticated digital audio workstations, virtual instruments, advanced vocal processing, and highly specialized editing software capable of manipulating sound with remarkable precision. Official behind-the-scenes footage has occasionally shown Jungkook working within studio environments where these technologies play central roles. Although the public rarely witnesses the complete production workflow, available evidence indicates that he has invested significant time in understanding both the artistic and technical aspects of modern recording. This combination reflects a broader trend among contemporary musicians who increasingly seek creative independence by learning not only performance techniques but also the technological tools that shape today's music industry. Fans have often discussed Jungkook's perfectionist tendencies, particularly regarding vocal recording sessions. Various official documentaries reveal moments where he voluntarily repeated individual lines multiple times, carefully evaluating subtle differences in tone, pronunciation, emotional delivery, and timing. Recording engineers frequently describe such behavior as characteristic of artists deeply invested in the quality of the final product. Rather than accepting the first satisfactory performance, these individuals continue refining details that many casual listeners might never consciously notice. While perfectionism can sometimes become psychologically demanding, industry professionals also recognize that meticulous attention to detail frequently distinguishes exceptional recordings from merely competent ones. Jungkook's documented studio habits appear consistent with this philosophy, demonstrating an unusually strong commitment to continuous refinement. The release of his solo material further strengthened public awareness of his creative ambitions. Official releases showcased not only his vocal abilities, but also a noticeably broader artistic vision, encompassing musical style, emotional storytelling, and overall production quality. Critics and music journalists frequently commented on the polished nature of these projects, recognizing the collaborative efforts of international producers while also acknowledging Jungkook's growing artistic identity. Importantly, official documentation does not suggest that he worked in isolation. Modern music production remains fundamentally collaborative, involving composers, arrangers, engineers, producers, and creative directors working together throughout every stage of development. Nevertheless, Jungkook's increasing participation in these collaborative environments reflects a significant evolution from his earliest years as a rookie idol, focused primarily on live performance. Speculation naturally accompanies any artist whose creative influence continues expanding. Some fans believe Jungkook may eventually assume an even greater production role in future projects, potentially overseeing complete albums or exploring entirely new musical genres through independent creative leadership. Others suggest his interest toward production represents a long-term investment in artistic longevity beyond performing alone. At present, however, such discussions remain speculative. Official records clearly demonstrate his growing involvement in songwriting and production-related activities, but the exact direction of his future creative career has not been formally established. Distinguishing between documented evidence and enthusiastic prediction remains essential when evaluating any evolving artistic journey. Music scholars often argue that the most enduring artists are those who gradually transition from interpreting existing works to creating original artistic visions of their own. This evolution does not diminish the importance of performance, rather it expands the artist's influence over every stage of the creative process. Jungkook's documented progression appears remarkably consistent with this broader pattern. Each passing year has revealed greater curiosity about composition, recording, arrangement, and production, suggesting an individual increasingly interested in understanding music from the inside out rather than experiencing it solely from the perspective of a vocalist. Whether this transformation ultimately leads to even larger creative responsibilities remains uncertain, but the trajectory itself is clearly visible within official documentation. Looking back across years of studio footage, songwriting credits, interviews, and officially released material, one conclusion becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. Jungkook's passion for music has never been confined to the spotlight alone. Beneath every polished performance exists another artist quietly studying structure, experimenting with sound, and seeking new ways to transform emotion into music that resonates across cultures and languages. Yet one question continues to echo beneath the surface. As his understanding of production continues to deepen, are audiences witnessing the gradual emergence of a future producer whose greatest creative achievements have yet to be heard, or have only the earliest chapters of that hidden journey been revealed?
Number 2. His spontaneous live streams became global events.
In an era where nearly every public appearance by a global celebrity is meticulously planned, carefully scripted, and coordinated by teams of professionals, Jungkook repeatedly did something that seemed almost impossible in modern entertainment. He simply turned on a live stream without warning. There were no elaborate promotional campaigns, no dramatic countdowns, and often no indication that millions of people were about to gather from every corner of the world. Sometimes it happened late at night in South Korea, while at other times it appeared during moments when international fans least expected it. Official records and archived broadcasts show that these live streams often began in remarkably ordinary ways. Jungkook would greet viewers casually, sit comfortably in a familiar room, prepare food, sing along to songs playing in the background, answer comments, share thoughts about daily life, or simply remain silent while listening to music. To an outside observer, nothing about these broadcasts appeared extraordinary. Yet within minutes, social media platforms across multiple countries would erupt with notifications, trending hashtags, translation threads, and millions of fans rushing to witness another unscripted moment. The contrast between the simplicity of the broadcasts and the magnitude of the global response remains one of the most fascinating aspects of Jungkook's public presence. Official livestream archives reveal that many of these sessions lasted far longer than audiences initially expected. Rather than following a predetermined schedule or promotional objective, Jungkook often allowed conversations to develop naturally. There were moments when he sang for extended periods without elaborate stage production, moments when he quietly prepared meals while interacting with viewers, and moments when long stretches of silence felt almost as meaningful as the conversations themselves. Communication researchers have frequently argued that authenticity has become increasingly valuable in the digital age. Audiences overwhelmed by polished marketing campaigns often respond more strongly to interactions that appear spontaneous and emotionally genuine. While authenticity itself cannot be measured objectively, Jungkook's live streams repeatedly generated unusually high levels of engagement despite their remarkably ordinary structure. This observation has prompted analysts to examine why such simple broadcasts consistently attracted audiences comparable to major entertainment events. Perhaps the most remarkable feature of these live streams was their unpredictability. Unlike scheduled concerts, award ceremonies, or official promotional activities, Jungkook's broadcasts frequently appeared without significant advance notice. This unpredictability transformed each notification into an event capable of instantly mobilizing millions of viewers worldwide. Digital communication specialists have long observed that scarcity and uncertainty often increase audience attention. When people know exactly when content will appear, anticipation develops gradually. However, when appearances occur unexpectedly, every notification carries the possibility of something unique unfolding in real time. Official platform records and media coverage consistently documented enormous viewer participation during many of Jungkook's live streams, reinforcing the perception that these broadcasts had evolved beyond casual fan interactions into global cultural moments. Another aspect frequently discussed by communication experts involves the atmosphere created during these sessions. Unlike highly produced television interviews where questions are often prepared in advance and responses carefully considered, Jungkook's live streams generally unfolded with minimal visible structure. Conversations shifted naturally between topics, music played unexpectedly, memories surfaced without formal transitions, laughter appeared alongside reflective silence. Sometimes he discussed work, while at other times he simply enjoyed the company of millions of viewers without feeling obligated to entertain continuously. This lack of rigid organization became one of the defining characteristics of his broadcasts. Ironically, what appeared unstructured often generated stronger emotional engagement than professionally scripted appearances. Various commentators have suggested that audiences appreciated the opportunity to observe an internationally recognized artist behaving in an environment that felt remarkably ordinary rather than carefully constructed for publicity. Music naturally occupied a central role throughout many live streams. Official broadcasts frequently featured Jungkook singing live while listening to songs that inspired him or responding to requests from viewers. These performances differed significantly from stadium concerts or televised appearances. There were no elaborate lighting systems, choreographed dance routines, or large production teams shaping every visual detail. Instead, audiences heard a voice presented within a relaxed environment, accompanied only by the informal atmosphere of an ordinary room. Vocal coaches commenting publicly on selected moments occasionally noted that these sessions offered unusually transparent examples of his natural vocal technique, because the performances occurred outside traditional promotional settings. Although technical variables naturally differ between live stream audio and professional concert production, many fans regarded these broadcasts as among the most intimate musical experiences Jungkook had ever shared publicly. Food and cooking unexpectedly became another memorable element. Official live streams occasionally captured Jungkook preparing simple meals while continuing conversations with viewers. Such scenes might appear insignificant from a traditional entertainment perspective, yet they consistently generated extraordinary online discussion. Media scholars studying celebrity culture have argued that audiences often develop stronger emotional connections through seemingly mundane activities than through spectacular performances. Watching an internationally famous artist prepare dinner, organize a kitchen, or quietly enjoy a meal created a sense of familiarity rarely associated with global superstars. Importantly, these moments did not erase the professional distance between artist and audience. Rather, they offered carefully limited glimpses into everyday routines without fundamentally changing the boundaries of public and private life. The worldwide reaction surrounding these broadcasts became almost as fascinating as the broadcasts themselves. Within minutes of a live stream beginning, official platform metrics frequently reflected enormous increases in viewership, while social media platforms experienced waves of real-time translations, clipped highlights, reaction videos, and trending discussions across multiple languages. International news outlets occasionally reported on the remarkable scale of audience participation, emphasizing how a single, unscheduled broadcast could dominate online conversation across numerous countries simultaneously. Digital communication researchers have described such phenomena as examples of network amplification, where rapid sharing among interconnected online communities dramatically accelerates public attention. Jungkook's live streams repeatedly demonstrated this pattern, illustrating how modern fandom can transform an ordinary online interaction into a globally synchronized event. Naturally, widespread popularity also produced speculation. Some observers argued that the broadcasts represented sophisticated audience engagement strategies designed to strengthen fan loyalty. Others believed the relaxed atmosphere reflected Jungkook's genuine preference for informal communication rather than elaborate promotional campaigns. Official records provide evidence supporting only certain aspects of these discussions. The live streams unquestionably occurred, attracted enormous audiences, and often developed spontaneously. However, broader interpretations regarding strategic intention remain speculative because only Jungkook and his professional team fully understand the motivations behind each broadcast. Responsible analysis, therefore, requires separating observable facts from assumptions generated through public discussion. Another compelling dimension concerns timing. Many live streams occurred during periods when BTS members were pursuing individual activities or maintaining communication with fans between major projects. In such moments, the broadcasts often became symbolic bridges connecting artist and audience despite physical distance. Communication experts frequently emphasize that consistency of interaction plays a crucial role in sustaining long-term audience relationships. Rather than relying exclusively on carefully planned promotional appearances, spontaneous communication can reinforce perceptions of accessibility and sincerity. Although this principle applies broadly across digital media, Jungkook's live streams became particularly notable because of their extraordinary scale and international reach. Looking back through archived live streams, official platform records, media analyses, and years of audience reactions, one reality becomes increasingly clear. Jungkook transformed one of the simplest forms of online communication into an experience capable of capturing global attention without relying on spectacle or elaborate production. A chair, a camera, music playing quietly in the background, and genuine conversation were often enough to unite millions of people across different cultures, languages, and time zones. Yet perhaps the greatest mystery lies beyond the impressive viewer statistics. Why did these seemingly ordinary moments resonate so deeply with audiences around the world? Was it merely the presence of one of the world's most recognized artists? Or did those unscripted broadcasts reveal something increasingly rare in modern celebrity culture? An authenticity that no production budget, no marketing strategy, and no carefully written script could ever fully recreate.
Number 1. His solo career took his global influence to another level. Long before his name began standing independently on the world's biggest music charts, Jungkook had already established himself as one of the defining voices of BTS, a group that reshaped the global perception of K-pop and permanently altered the international music industry. Yet, even during the height of BTS's collective success, a quiet question continued to circulate among music critics, entertainment analysts, and longtime fans alike. What would happen if Jungkook stepped onto the global stage not simply as BTS's main vocalist, but as a solo artist, carrying only his own name?
It was a question that lingered for years, surrounded by endless speculation, but supported by very little concrete evidence. Some believed his popularity within BTS would naturally translate into individual success. Others argued that succeeding alone in the highly competitive international music market required an entirely different set of challenges, where personal identity, artistic direction, and public expectation would be tested more intensely than ever before. Official records show that when Jungkook eventually began releasing solo projects, the answer unfolded far more dramatically than many industry observers had anticipated. Rather than existing merely as an extension of BTS, his solo career rapidly developed into an international phenomenon that demonstrated the remarkable strength of his individual influence, while simultaneously expanding the global legacy of the group itself. The modern music industry has become increasingly difficult for artists seeking worldwide recognition. Streaming platforms have dramatically increased global accessibility, but they have also intensified competition to unprecedented levels. Every day, thousands of songs compete simultaneously for listener attention across multiple digital services, social media platforms, and international radio markets. Industry experts frequently note that achieving sustained global visibility now requires far more than vocal talent alone. Successful artists must navigate changing listener preferences, digital algorithms, international marketing strategies, and rapidly evolving cultural trends. Against this backdrop, Jungkook entered the solo market carrying both extraordinary opportunities and extraordinary expectations. Official interviews and public commentary during this period reflected widespread curiosity regarding whether his individual releases could maintain the momentum established through BTS's collective achievements. Rather than avoiding these expectations, his official releases became measurable indicators through which the global industry evaluated his artistic independence. Perhaps the clearest evidence of his expanding influence emerged through international chart performance. Official chart organizations documented impressive results across multiple global markets following the release of Jungkook's solo music. Songs climbed major streaming rankings, entered internationally recognized music charts, and attracted audiences extending well beyond traditional K-pop fan communities. Industry analysts frequently emphasize that chart success represents more than simple popularity. High placements often reflect consistent listener engagement across diverse demographics, repeated streaming activity, digital purchases, and sustained international attention over extended periods. Official records confirmed that Jungkook's solo releases achieved significant visibility within these competitive environments, reinforcing the perception that his appeal extended beyond his established role within BTS. Importantly, these achievements were measured using publicly recognized industry standards rather than subjective fan opinion, providing tangible evidence of his expanding global presence. Streaming platforms offered another remarkable perspective on this transformation. Official platform statistics repeatedly demonstrated extraordinary levels of listener activity surrounding Jungkook's solo releases. Millions of streams accumulated rapidly across multiple countries, while songs appeared prominently within curated playlists, reaching audiences who may not have previously followed BTS in detail. Digital music researchers often describe streaming data as one of the clearest indicators of contemporary listening behavior because it reflects ongoing audience engagement rather than isolated purchasing decisions. Although streaming numbers naturally fluctuate over time, official records consistently showed strong international participation across North America, Europe, Asia, Latin America, and numerous additional markets. Such widespread geographical distribution suggests that Jungkook's music resonated across cultural boundaries in ways that extended well beyond conventional expectations for a solo debut. One particularly fascinating aspect of his solo career involves the evolution of his artistic identity. Throughout BTS's history, every member contributed distinct strengths to the group's overall sound. However, solo projects offered Jungkook an opportunity to explore musical styles, emotional themes, and creative directions more directly connected to his individual artistic preferences. Official interviews indicate that this process involved careful consideration of vocal expression, musical arrangement, and performance style. Rather than abandoning the qualities that initially attracted global audiences, Jungkook gradually refined them within a framework emphasizing personal artistic identity. Music critics frequently observed this balance, noting that his solo work remained recognizable to longtime BTS listeners, while simultaneously appealing to broader international audiences unfamiliar with the group's complete discography. The visual dimension of Jungkook's solo era also attracted significant attention. Official music videos, live performances, promotional appearances, and international broadcasts presented an artist demonstrating increasing confidence in communicating a distinctive creative vision. Entertainment commentators frequently discussed the cinematic quality of these productions, highlighting choreography, storytelling, visual symbolism, and production value. While modern music videos are inherently collaborative efforts involving directors, choreographers, cinematographers, stylists, and creative teams, official documentation consistently reflected Jungkook's active participation in shaping the final artistic presentation. This growing creative involvement further reinforced perceptions that his career had entered a new stage, characterized not only by vocal excellence but also by broader artistic leadership. Industry experts have occasionally described Jungkook's solo achievements as representing an important milestone for Korean popular music more generally. For decades, international recognition for K-pop artists often depended heavily upon group identity. Jungkook's success demonstrated that individual members could also establish powerful global careers while remaining connected to their original groups. Such developments contribute to broader discussions regarding the evolution of Korean entertainment within international markets. Although official records cannot determine the long-term historical significance of any contemporary artist, analysts frequently cite Jungkook's achievements when examining how K-pop continues expanding beyond earlier commercial boundaries. His success, therefore, carries implications extending beyond personal accomplishment, influencing wider conversations about the future direction of global popular music. Naturally, extraordinary success also generated extensive public discussion. Various commentators questioned whether Jungkook's solo popularity should be viewed primarily as the result of BTS's existing global foundation or as evidence of his own independent artistic strength. Others argued that separating the two may ultimately be impossible because both identities remain deeply interconnected. Official records provide clear evidence regarding chart positions, streaming statistics, sold-out performances, and international recognition, but they cannot fully resolve philosophical questions concerning the relationship between individual achievement and collective legacy. Such debates continue among music scholars and fans alike, reflecting the complexity of evaluating artists whose careers develop simultaneously as group members and independent performers. Another significant observation involves public influence beyond music alone. Jungkook's solo appearances consistently generated widespread international media coverage, social media engagement, fashion discussions, and cultural conversations extending beyond traditional entertainment reporting. Brand analysts have frequently examined his ability to influence consumer interest, online trends, and global public attention following major releases or public appearances. While precise measurements of cultural influence inevitably involve multiple variables, official indicators such as media visibility, audience engagement, and international coverage consistently positioned Jungkook among the most influential contemporary Korean artists. This expanding visibility further strengthened the argument that his solo activities represented not merely personal artistic projects, but globally significant cultural events. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of Jungkook's solo journey lies in what it revealed about artistic evolution. Rather than replacing BTS's legacy, his independent achievements appeared to complement and amplify it. Every successful solo release introduced new audiences to his individual artistry, while simultaneously reminding the world of the extraordinary creative foundation from which he emerged. Music historians often observe that truly influential artists reshape expectations not through isolated achievements, but through sustained excellence across multiple stages of their careers. Jungkook's documented progression from trainee to BTS member to internationally recognized solo artist reflects precisely this pattern of continuous evolution rather than sudden transformation. Looking back through official chart records, streaming data,